We're continuing our look back at all the Marvel films in the lead up to Avengers Infinity War, and we have now come to the one that everyone asks the question, do I actually need to watch this one? Does this actually still count? Yeah, so we're of course talking about Incredible Hulk. And yeah, I'm not joking when I say, does this one really count? Because this one, it wasn't even really made by Disney. It was made like in partnership with Disney, kind of like how Spider-Man Homecoming was a Sony picture, but it was made mostly by Disney. This one, because the Hulk is still owned by Universal, not Disney. But Universal's like, yeah, we'll make that money. Come on, yeah. We'll take a little bit off the top of your mountain of Avengers money. Sure, you can use him. I don't know why Fox doesn't get the freaking message. But yeah, so Universal technically made this one. And the weird thing is, you can tell, like going back and knowing like now what you know about Avengers movies and how they all have like one little, like, something you can't put your finger on, but it still, like, matches up. Like, the sense of humor, like, some of the jokes in there will still, like,
yeah,
match.
like the vibe.
Yeah, the vibe, because, like, Black Panther, that's an Afrofuturist film. You don't ever get those things, so that's very different. And then you have, like, Spider-Man Homecoming is a coming-of-age, like, John Hughes-style film. And then you've got, like, Winter Soldier, which is a spy film. These are very different types of movies. But there's still that, like, that vibe that makes you go, yeah, I can see this all existing in the same world. Like, just some of the jokes in there. Like, you can tell, like, maybe Marvel has, like, Kevin Feige, like, crafts these stories with the people who write them. And you can tell, like, maybe he throws in a joke or two. Because there's something about each of the Marvel films that makes you go, yeah, this feels like it's in the same place. This is the one that, like, we just went back and watched this. And the whole time I was watching, it was like, yeah, this does not feel like it fits in those other films. Like, this doesn't feel like it fits in this universe. Also, because the guy who played the Hulk is not the guy who plays the Hulk after this one. That's also a big part of it. But yeah, this film, it's very odd. I have been saying, and I will always say this, well, not always, I'm not gonna take that risk. But I have always said, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they have not made a bad movie yet. However, they have made a lot of, whatever films. This is like the most whatever film to me. I'm recording a video for this week, and I've already recorded it all. And I probably should have waited until I saw all these films, but I just didn't have time. I had to get all the recording beforehand, in which I ranked the films by what I think is the worst to the best. I had this one come in third from the bottom, so at number 16. And I'm watching this now, and it's like, yeah, shoot, maybe I should drop that down one more. Like. I still think it's a passable film.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's very okay. Like, it's certainly not bad, but I'm not going to call it good either. But it is very okay.
Yeah, like, I can get why little kids would enjoy this. You got, like, the Hulk smashing things, and that's cool,
Which
that's fun.
I'm totally okay with that. Yeah, here's the thing. My rationale for why I think that this film works is because the Ang Lee Hulk film tried to be... Excuse me, we're recording this right after dinner. It tried to be the smart Hulk film. It tried to come in here and be like, well, let's get into the psychological drama behind Bruce Banner, which is a great story to tell.
Yeah.
But he sucked at the movie. Ang Lee is an amazing filmmaker too, but that movie is garbage. It's so bad, and one of the reasons it's bad is it tries way too hard to be the smart, emotional journey of Bruce Banner. And man, yeah, you totally overshot that... sorry. What's the term? Overshot the overpass? That's not it. What's we haven't driven. We live in New York. Yeah. Anywho. Yeah, he totally overshot it. And it just seemed cartoonish and like, who the fuck thought this was the right way to do this film? So I actually think this film works because it's not smart. Because it was like, yeah, no, Hulk smash, that's it. And I was like, yeah, we kind of needed that refresher after the last one.
I mean, it's like you said, we can get into the psychological aspect of Bruce Banner.
It's a great story to tell.
Yeah, but it's like...
But after the last one...
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, don't attempt that just yet. Let's save that. Hold off on that, man. Maybe explore it a little bit in a team movie that he appears in later, not his own thing.
Although they didn't really explore his backstory in, like, the Avengers or anything.
It comes up a little bit.
A little bit, but not that much.
But then again, it's not his movie.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like... it's kind of weird how we don't get much of a backstory to the Hulk in his own movie or anything, but you don't really need it. I mean,
yeah, in this one, he doesn't really have a backstory in this. Mm-hmm. And again, that's a good thing because, like, it was just a few years before this. That, like, I think maybe 4 years before this?
Yeah.
In which they had the Ang Lee Hulk film, and that was his origin story. Yeah, 4 years apart, you don't want to come in and do the origin story all over again.
Yeah, it's like, you can only do the origin story so many times, like, as seen with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like,
They figured it out eventually. So yeah, it makes sense why they didn't do the origin story in this one. But yeah, this is a film that really relies on you, like, knowing what the Hulk is. But the thing that I find interesting about this one is that they clearly are not, like, trying to go, yeah, you remember that Ang Lee Hulk one? No, everybody forget that. You remember the TV show Hulk? Yeah, man, I don't know why I coughed on the Hulk. Yeah, we should not record these right after we eat. But yeah, it was like, do you remember the TV show Hulk? That's what this is. Because, like, even the big machine he's in the beginning is basically the big machine from the TV Hulk.
And they even play, like, the theme, too.
There is
like,
1 second where they play a theme, and, like, this is, like, the 4th time I've watched this. Or, yeah, I think it's the 4th time, because I saw it when it was in theaters, then at the marathon for the first Avengers, then the marathon for the second Avengers, and this is the marathon for the third Avengers. So yeah, this is the 4th time I've watched it. I never caught that, like, couple seconds of, like, the old theme song,
Yeah.
and you called it on this. I was like, oh yeah, you're right. Holy cow. But yeah, this is a film where, as I'm rewatching it this time, it's been 3 years since the last time, and, you know, I can't entirely count the last 2 times I saw this because we saw it during the big festival leading up to it, and we're there with a bunch of other people there for that big festival, for that big movie marathon. There's an energy, there's a vibe in there. You can't really critically analyze those films during then because you're all in that rush.
Yeah.
And this is the second film, everybody is still riding high. By the time during that second marathon that we all got to, like, Thor the Dark World, everybody was like, yeah, I'm gonna stretch my legs a little bit. Yeah, it's enough. But yeah, it's the second film. Everyone's like, woo, 1 down, let's go to the next one, baby. But sitting here, like, critically analyzing it on the TV, I'm like, yeah, this film has got way more problems than I remember it having.
Yeah, you said it did not age well, and I can see that.
It did not age well. Like we said previously when we talked about Iron Man, is that, you know, it shows its age a little bit simply because most superhero films now are like superhero slash this, or it's not even about superheroes. It's a big space adventure, but they're based on superheroes, you know, that kind of thing. This is some weird trippy 1980s drug trip mixed with a buddy road trip mixed with Thor. Like, that's what we get now. Whereas with Iron Man, it was like, oh wow, I forgot what it was like to just have a superhero movie. But this one didn't age well because it was kind of like, yeah, man, everybody just loves superheroes no matter what. It's like, not quite these days. These days, you gotta try with your superheroes a little bit. And this one was just like, it's the Hulk, everyone. I was like, yeah, it sure is. All right, that's fine. Because this film, like we said, it doesn't even try to, like, come in here and be like, this is all of this stuff. And some of that I'm okay with because some of it is like, well, it's made kind of for the TV audience. This even has a vibe of being like a really well-made, made-for-TV film at times. So I'm letting a lot of that pass because of that. But then there's so many other moments in here, like Samson. Like, they never even give you, like, much of his name in here, but the person that Betty is dating when Bruce comes back into town. In the comics, that's a therapist called Dr. Samson, or just Doc Samson. And later on, he gets infused with gamma radiation too, and he becomes a hero himself. But he's kind of like the running gag with him is that he's the superpower therapist. He's the therapist to superheroes. There's a moment in here in which they are trying to find out what happened to Betty. The army is at Samson's place. He just goes, you know, one of the things that I pride myself on in my profession is I can tell when people are lying. And I was just like, have we stopped to mention you're a therapist in here?
Yeah, I don't recall that.
I don't remember that at all.
I just thought it was like a character trait he had, like, and he's proud of, or...
But I mean, it's like, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, you're relying too much on the audience knowing who this is, because the TV audience has no idea who Doc Samson is. But yeah, there's a couple of other moments like that in this film, in which they're just kind of like, yeah, you guys know this, and it's like, I do. I don't think the average moviegoer does. They're not big things. Well, there's one that's kind of a big thing. He keeps contacting Mr. Blue, and that was a thing from the comics in which, for like one storyline, he was going back and forth communicating with someone who thought he might have the cure for him. And then he goes and meets them, and it's like, okay, you've had Mr. Blue being set up throughout this entire thing, but it's kind of weird for it to just be a random guy who we have not seen throughout this entire film.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a weird thing. Like, the fact that they don't show any of Mr. Blue before this, like, you don't see him, like, on his computer, like, worried that the government might be trying to get in touch with him. You might not, like, seeing him doing research, trying to, like, learn, like, okay, what is it about the Hulk? And, like, then when these two eventually meet, like, there is no communication or anything with this dude aside from just seeing it from Bruce's side.
Yeah.
Just seeing the emails, and then we meet him, and it's just like, it's not really a big important thing, because, like, the audience, like, none of us have met this guy yet. I know that this guy's gonna be the leader. Actually, I didn't know that because I don't know enough. Listen, I know comics. I don't know who the leader's secret identity is before this, but when he gets the drop of stuff on his brain and his brain starts growing, it's like, oh, it's the leader. Okay, that's fine. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's just like, it's so weird that just like at the final act of this movie, we just introduce a brand new guy. Not technically a brand new guy because we've been talking to him this whole time, but we have no idea who this is. We've never met him.
Like, seeing him face to face.
Exactly. It's like, there isn't really any big, like, oh, he finally met Mr. Blue. When it's like, yeah, we don't know. Like, it feels like it's set up to be a shock.
Yeah.
It feels like it's set up to be like, oh my gosh, this guy was Mr. Blue? And then it was like, no, we've never met this guy. But then again, there's nobody in this film who it could have been a shock to be revealed as.
Honestly, I thought the guy who owned the pizzeria shop was Mr. Blue at first because, like, when Bruce Banner knocked on the window and he looked up, he's like, "Oh, it's you!" Like,
yeah, again, it was just kind of like,
like he owns like a pizza shop, but he like does like research as like a hobby or something like that in the background.
But yeah, again, it's just kind of like, hey, you remember me, and it was like, yeah, this entire film, it really is kind of set up like you should know this world. And it's not like the pizza guy is someone from the comics either,
No.
but I mean, that's just kind of how this film is. It's just kind of like, imagine that you know these people already. Cool. It's like, yeah, we don't. I mean, everybody knows Bruce Banner. Like I said, don't set up the origin anymore, but yeah, it is kind of weird, like, how this film is structured in the sense that it's relying on you knowing all this.
Yeah, it's like, you can go with the flow, but like, there's some rocks in the river.
It's a very go with the flow style film.
Yeah, but like I said, there's like some rocks in the river that you end up bumping over. It's like, oh, okay.
Also, something I have to point out, I know so many people who like Edward Norton as Bruce Banner say, man, he really captured him. I think Edward Norton is flat as fuck in this film. I really do. I know I'm in the minority on that one. I know most people really dug Edward Norton in this movie. Man, I thought he was so flat in this.
Kind of, but like, I thought that was like the whole point. Like, he's supposed to be like,
down.
Yeah, like, you know, this a timid, mild-mannered man, and then suddenly he becomes the raging Hulk. That's kind of the thing, so.
I can understand that. But I mean, even his mild-manneredness is very one note in the way that, like, him interacting to meeting Betty again is exactly the same as him, like, just having a regular conversation shopping for pants. And it's like, man, you're tapped down way too much. And Betty's really bad in this, too. Like, it's Liv Tyler, I think, playing her, I believe. Yeah. Yeah, she is so soft-spoken. Like, every word out of her mouth. Bruce, you don't have to run anymore, Bruce.
Again, I think that's, like, the point. Like, she's supposed to be the calm one to help calm down Bruce, but it's like, you put it very, very well. It's like, this film is not subtle, so like because because of that, I feel like the characters might be slightly exaggerated, but not in a good way. Like, Bruce Banner is like a little too flat, and you know, Betty's like a little too calm and passive.
That's exactly what this film is. This film is not subtle in any way, and we realized that when it got to the moment when they were on the campus, and I went, is something wrong with our TV? Because the green on the grass is blinding in this scene. Like, again, it might just be our TV, because I never noticed it the previous times we watched this, but the green on the grass was shocking how bright it was. But there is something that I always noticed about that scene. There was a storm rolling in as the military was coming, and as the Hulk was about to finally appear, the thunder starts crashing in the storm. So I was like, we get it. Brother, we understand. And I mean, there's another shot in here that, again, I never really picked up on this before, but there's a shot when he sees Betty for the first time, and as soon as he sees Betty, he just goes, I was like, come on, man. That's so over the top. yeah, this film is not subtle, and the acting is all overacting, and considering that, as we said, Bruce Banner is supposed to be very tapped down, overacting tapped down comes off as really flat. It's a weird equation to work out on that one, but it comes out. However, I know I'm criticizing this a lot, and I'm being very much like, oh, poo-pooing this whole thing. By the way, our dog is chewing on a pig ear at my foot.
Yeah, so we apologize for all the crunching noises.
If you hear crunching, I haven't stopped it because I don't think you can pick up on it, but if you can pick up on it, I apologize.
Yeah, we're sorry about that.
But yeah, even though I'm criticizing this a lot, the Hulk stuff is good.
It is.
I gotta give it that. The Hulk stuff is good.
Yeah, like whenever he's beating stuff up, it's really awesome.
You know what this really reminded me of? It reminded me of that last Godzilla film that we got. The last American Godzilla film. In which it is a lot of, oh my god, get back to the fucking monster already. And I was not enjoying that film until the final act when Godzilla gets to go off, and I was like, I would totally watch a cinematic universe based around this one fight scene. If you can give me more of that, I'm down with that. Yeah, all the Hulk stuff in here I like. Like, I like the first time they pops up, it's kind of like a horror film sort of thing. I also like it follows the fucking rule of threes, unlike the Ang Lee one. That was another problem with the Ang Lee one. He turns into the Hulk 4 times, and I know a lot of people go like, well, why is that such a big deal? I'm not saying you can't do stuff like that. You certainly can. I mean, there's no set rules when it comes to filmmaking. You can do whatever you want. However, yeah, man, if every time it's supposed to ramp up, and the third time it's him taking on an entire city, it turns into Grand Theft Auto at the end of that one, it's like, nah, man, we're done. No, that was the second time. Then the third time he's in a base, and then it's like, oh god, I don't care. Now this one's
like no one cares about that Hulk movie.
Yeah, but it's like that was another problem with that one that people never really bring up, but I always kind of thought. The pacing in this film is really terrible. But in this one, I like you follow the freaking rule of threes because first time, it's the hint. Second time, oh, that's the big premiere. He's coming out. Third time, rock and roll.
Yes,
let's
the big
do this.
final fight.
Yeah, it's like, man, wham, bam, bam. Easy to follow, done. The escalation works perfectly on that. Exactly how it should be. And yeah, I like that at the end of this, it's just a freaking monster brawl. Yeah. That's all it is, but it's like, yeah, man, I'm cool with that.
To be. I mean, because it is a monster brawl, I kind of feel like that's another reason why this doesn't feel like exactly like a Marvel movie, because, you know, I mean, I know Hulk is supposed to be like a hero, but he's not like an official hero.
Hulk is a monster you aim at bad guys.
Yes, basically.
Which, yeah, the final fight in this does, it's still like super powered people punching each other. But you've also got like the military in there shooting up. Like no one is stopping to like worry about like citizens or anything, which and not in the way that it's like they ignore that citizens exist, like say Man of Steel. No, this is a film where the Hulk wouldn't try and save people because the Hulk punches. That's what he does. It's like, yeah, it does feel different from those. But no, I think it's more just, I think, honestly, the lack of emotions, I think, is the big thing for me that makes this not feel like a Marvel film. Because Marvel films, hey man, they ride very heavily on the personalities of their starring characters. And yeah, Bruce Banner, like I said, is flat as hell in this film. So is Betty Brant. So is everyone in this film. Did I say Betty Brant? Sorry, that's Spider-Man. Betty Ross.
Betsy Ross. Oh no, that's the woman who made the flag.
I was gonna keep that joke going, but I forgot what Betty's last name in the Archie comics is. Betty, it doesn't matter.
Betty Crocker? No way, she makes cakes.
Yes. That's how they call him the Hulk down. They just give him like one of those like Betty Crockett cakes like in those old comic book ads. But yeah, I still enjoyed this, and it's largely because the Hulk stuff is good. And not even just because, like, yay, monster punch things. Like, the scene where he's got Betty in the cave, and he's, like, yelling at Thunder because he's just a big, dumb animal. It's like, that's actually really good. And actually, like, you see, like, him trying to protect her from Thunder. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, man, it's, like, it's a scene that shows, like, the mindset of the Hulk while also showing, like, who he wants to protect. And also, I gotta admit, Emil Blonsky, the performance, not great from Tim Roth on there. Nobody's performance in here is really great. But the character of Emil Blonsky is actually pretty good in here. I mean, he is a guy who, he is based his whole life on being a soldier. Like, he wouldn't even let himself be promoted because he wants to be in the field. And they're just like, yeah, man, you getting old. Your body can't keep doing this anymore. And then, like, he suddenly sees this great big monster that's unstoppable. Yeah, man, he's gonna want that. It's like, that's actually a pretty good villain to put inside of a Hulk film. And also, I gotta say, for a PG-13 film, they could have probably gone a little bit further with it, but I do really dig the one shot that they cut away from. Like, you can tell, like, they were going frame by frame on of how far can we get with this. There was a deleted scene of him being, like, shot into that tree, but just that kick that the Hulk gives, and then, like, it cuts away, and then it cuts to him, like, wrapped around the tree. I was like, damn. That was pretty good. I enjoyed that. But yeah, it's all the Hulk stuff in here is what saves it. Even like just the action scene of Bruce running away in Brazil. I thought that was great. I also like the idea that we see that this story is following what happened to Bruce after he ran away. You never really get that story of like, okay, the Hulk goes around the country from place to place and we follow him. What happens when he just gets the hell out of the country?
Yeah.
Which is what happened at the end of the Ang Lee Hulk film, which makes it kind of weird that they decided to do this. Because it does kind of make, because there were a lot of people going, no man, it starts with him in South.
Yeah, it almost like makes it feel more like a sequel as opposed to like a reboot.
I've heard them talk about over at Universal, not Marvel. Marvel's probably like, no, it has nothing to do with that. But the people at Universal before Marvel was like, here's our fucking plan, follow it, you idiots. Before that, Universal was like, well, maybe it is, and we're not quite saying. If you want to read us that, then you can. Now these days it's like, no, it's solely in the Marvel Universe. That's not ours anyway. But yeah, so I still, again, I don't think that this is a bad film.
No.
I still stand by Marvel has not made a bad film. But yes, after now being able to view it critically, not viewing it as like, yay, oh my gosh, this thing is happening. I see a lot more flaws in it. Even the flaws I saw before, I'm seeing more of. But again, it's the superhero stuff in there that saves it. It is like the Hulk punching stuff that is really darn good here. Which is a weird compliment to give a film. But yeah, I've always said that this one was probably like number 16. Now I'm like, number 17. Maybe even when I watch Thor: The Dark World. If that turns out to be better than I remember, it might bump it up above this one. But yeah, you know, it's in the bottom. Whatever. But yes, okay, we still have a couple more of whatever ones coming up. Because next up is Iron Man 2. Make sure that you guys come back for that. Bye.
Bye.